In each place that we visit in our Hawaii Geographic Society tours, we generally include a tour with a local guide.
Well, I stopped in front of this building because this building, which you can see here on the right side, as you can see, this kind of decoration is called sgraffito. It's a typical example, typical decoration of Renaissance. And the first decoration was a decoration like envelopes, but later on, when they were, more educated in this kind of things, they could also make this kind of decoration like flowers or some kind of pictures from Bible. So later on, now we will get to Hradčany Square, where is considered to be the most beautiful Renaissance palace in Prague. So you will also see how beautiful things are possible to do with this kind of sgraffito decoration. And that palace, that's that Schwarzenberg palace, that's considered to be the most beautiful and biggest Renaissance palace in Prague. You can again see typical decoration, typical sign of Renaissance, typical sgraffito decoration. You can also see that there are already not just envelopes, but there is also a decoration like flowers. If you will just have a look a little bit on that courtyard, you will see there the guns, because this building is during the century using as the museum of Czech army, as the military museum. So if you're someone here who is interested about the guns, you should next time come to Prague and visit this kind of museum. So you can see this Hradčany Square is full of beautiful palaces. It's because for more than 1,000 years, Prague has been the seat of Czech kings, emperors and presidents. The usually palaces around Prague Castle, like Schwarzenberg Palace, are the palaces of the most rich Bohemian nobility. Also another thing which I would like to tell you, it's an interesting thing, is this column in the middle of the square, which is a plague column. You maybe heard about it, that in Europe was for more than 100 years a plague, and when this kind of really bad illness was over, people were, the religion people, they were so, thankful. So they started to build this kind of plague columns everywhere, not just in Prague, but whole the Czech Republic is full of these columns.
And then she told us how popular Prague has become with today's tourists.
Usual working people, they have holidays in this time. So, and also a lot of Czech people who don't live here in this area, they are coming to see Prague, during the summer.
So has tourism really been growing every year?
Yeah, since 1990, yeah.
Big change since 1990?
Yeah, of course, very big. You maybe have heard about it that till 1989, under the communism, so the Czech people, they couldn't travel so much, The traveling was mainly, around the socialistic countries like Germany, Russia, Poland, Romania, former Yugoslavia, and something, like that. And also, the foreigners, I mean the tourists from abroad, they couldn't get here so easily,
Sure.
As now it's like, open to everyone.
Yeah, so for many years people wanted to come, but they could not come.
Yeah, of course.
So there's a lot of built-up interest.
Yeah, and also maybe you have heard about it, that if some of the Czech people had a part of the family or some relatives, like in some kind of countries like England or the United States, they were not allowed to go to visit them usually, because, government were scared that they will, find out that what they are saying, that these kind of countries are really bad, it's not true, Because under the communists, there were everywhere huge, huge titles like Russia is the best country in the world, like with Russia forever, and something like that.
The Loreta Church holds within it a copy of the House of the Virgin Mary.
So the first Loreta was built in Italy, and later on in all the Europe started to appear buildings like that. So this Loreta is from the beginning of 16th century. That area where this Baroque church stands, that's already the area of other part of Prague, which is called Malá Strana, the little quarter or the lesser town. Because this area where we are staying now, this Hradčany Square and Prague Castle, that's the area where used to be one of the independent towns called Hradčany. This kind of building, the title where it's written there, Stará radnice, it means town hall. If you remember in the bus, I told you that there used to be 4 independent towns. So this town hall was a town hall of the town called Hradčany. Maybe you have heard about it, that Prague is the best preserved historical town in Europe, and it's also on the list of UNESCO organization, on the list of that protected areas of UNESCO. So now we will go to the first courtyard of Prague Castle. I would like just to tell you that all these parts, all these buildings, which are Prague Castle, which is exactly modern as a chateau, it was built during the 19th century by Nicolas Prague-C. That fountain on the left side, it's a Baroque fountain, and you can again see that it's that men which are holding that fountain. And so they are exactly a typical sign of Baroque, because as I told you, Baroque was something which was very huge. It was a very huge style. We will go inside and have a short look to this beautiful cathedral, because inside it's much more beautiful than from outside.
St. Vitus ranks among the great Gothic cathedrals of Europe. It's nearly 400 feet long and 200 feet wide, and the nave is 110 feet high. It was originally started about 600 years ago by a French Gothic architect, finally finished in this century.
So maybe if you would like to, we could go more to the middle. So we are inside of the St. Vitus Cathedral. So the St. Vitus Cathedral was under construction for almost 6 centuries. The construction of this cathedral began in 1344. Basic stone was put by famous Bohemian King Charles IV, who later on became emperor. Then, during the centuries, of course, there were many different kings and emperors, which means that each of them was trying to finish the cathedral. But because there were also, like Hussit's war, Swedish war, so there was no time and no money to finish this cathedral. So it was finally completed in 1929. You can really see for almost 6 centuries. You can have a look to that beautiful chapel of St. Wenceslas. If you will have a look, there is the enter to the chapel, which is St. Wenceslas Chapel. It's a very beautiful chapel. It's beautifully decorated with frescoes and semi-precious stones. And the truth is that why is it called the St. Wenceslas Chapel? Because Saint Wenceslas was a first Czech saint patron, and he was exactly held as a saint patron of our country. That's why is the chapel called Saint Wenceslas Chapel, because he was a patron of Bohemian Kingdom. So now, if you would like to, we can walk a little bit around and get back out. What I would like to tell you, what is very, very important, very interesting, is this part, St. George Basilica. It's originally from 920. It's a more than 1,000 years old church, and it's the best preserved Romanesque basilica, the best preserved structure in the whole Czech Republic. If you will have a look on the windows, you can compare that this kind of style compared to the Gothic style was very simple. So this is that golden lane. Isn't it beautiful? So as you can see, this is really very cute. Why golden lane? Because people, they suppose that these houses were used to houses of alchemists, but that's not the true. That's not the true. The scientists later on find out that these houses were the houses of castle guards, the poor people like castle guards living in these houses. Because alchemists were very rich, thanks to the Emperor Rudolf II. They had a lot of money. They had never lived in this kind of poor conditions, so these were the houses of castle guards. That blue one, you will see on the right side of that blue one, you will see the name of Franz Kafka, because this famous writer, Franz Kafka, he used to spend 2 years in this house. Inside, there are mainly shops in this time.
We'll have more of Prague to show you.